What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. This is our reaction show where we're going to break down everything that we saw as the Hounds drew 1-1 on 80s night against Orange County FC. I am Mike Sparks. Joining me is Steve Mattias and Josh Brokaw. Gentlemen, it was quite the evening. It sounds like it was quite the weekend for a couple of us. Josh, you have some news to share here?
Oh, yeah. So they had, well, first off, I don't know if everyone saw the music video they shot for 80s night. Suber, Walty, Sample, and then Kyle, the MC that the Riverhounds have, and then also Ryan, the director of photography and all that stuff. I forget his job title, but basically he does all the cool videos for the Hounds. They did a music video shot for shot, and I got a silent auction they did, which I don't know if you can see without the lights.
Yeah. That's great. So they basically took a still from the video and they all signed it and framed it and then did a silent auction, and Josh came away the winner.
Yeah, I didn't even know they're doing it. About halfway through the first half, I was over by the merch area and I saw a little piece of paper that said silent auction at the front. I'm like, what's this about? Didn't even say what it was for. I was just like, oh, sure. So I went into the front and saw the photo. I'm like, yeah, all signed, framed. I want that. So started doing the silent auction. I basically spent the whole game over by that section, just kind of waiting for someone to go up and write on the piece of paper. I'm like, nope, mine. Go back, write on the piece of paper, go up $5.
Which also works because it keeps you in the shade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, yesterday was, we'll talk about it a little bit more probably later, but I think this was the first Hounds game this season that felt like 4th of July was packed, yes, but
Yeah.
this was a sold out crowd, a happy crowd. It just felt like, okay, cool. This is, what we had a lot last year. And it felt great. So
the announcers kept referencing the fact that it was dollar beer night. I don't know how much of that factored into it, but you did send us a picture of the beer can pyramid that was developing, I guess, down at that far end where you were.
Yeah. So if you've been to Highmark, you know that on not the side the Steel Army stands on, but the other side, there's a bar that goes basically all the way across that you can stand and just lean on that bar. Well, that's where the dollar beer pyramid was being built. And I saw it get pretty high, get knocked down, get really even bigger than last time. And then as they were putting on the last, I think 1 or 2 or 3, the top part of the pyramid, they had to get someone who was taller. And
I was going to say, after a while, you can't reach that high.
Yeah, there was no one, the group that was doing it, they were too short. So they got this big guy, and he walks over, and I think he's had some as well. And the very first one he tries to put on, he just shakes a little bit too much, and it just crumbles again. Well, at this point, the game's over. You're not rebuilding this. You don't have enough time. So, yeah, unfortunately, we never got to see it get completed, but it was close.
That's awesome. Steve, how's your weekend been?
Pretty good. Loving the weather, looking at my tomato plants, and I don't know what I'm going to do because I've still got a few that I picked early in the week that I'm working my way through, and there's 18 of them out there that are ready to go.
I was going to say, are yours red?
So mine are all different varieties, but they're all pretty much ripe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of mine are still green, and I saw a video this morning that was saying that it was from Ontario, but they were saying all of the tomatoes in Ontario are green because it has not gotten cool enough yet for for whatever the chemicals are to be released to allow the tomatoes to ripen. Yeah. So I guess I'm waiting for a cool spell, but I've got tons of green tomatoes out there.
I started mine early, had to put them under containers at one point to make sure they didn't frost over. That's been great, but I don't know what I'm going to do with all these tomatoes because there's a ton. If you want to drive out, I'll give you some tomatoes.
Listen, we chop ours up and freeze them, and then in January, February, we can make some homemade tomato sauce and stuff, and it's amazing. So yeah, save them. Yeah, I told you guys I had quite the day yesterday. So yeah, spent the bulk of my day at the Jeanette DMV, and it was as painful as you would imagine. So it was basically just supposed to go. My middle son turned 16 this week, and so we were going to get his driver's permit. The permit itself, the test takes like 2 minutes. We got there at 8:30 when they opened, thinking like, oh, it's like first thing in the morning on a Saturday. Nobody's gonna be there. We'll be in and out. No big deal. There was a line stretching around the block of like people outside waiting to get in. We get in. We get to the front desk, and after 45 minutes, we get to the front desk, and they tell us that we were missing something. So drove a half hour home, got the thing, drove a half hour back. All in all, spent 7 hours either getting to or from the DMV and waiting at the DMV for a 2-minute test that he passed, thankfully. Because if he wouldn't have passed, I was telling my wife, I'm ready to go postal. Like literally, I'm looking around and I noticed that like all of the tables and all of the desks are bolted down to the floor because I have to imagine that like, at a certain point, people just like and just want to stuff and throw stuff and. It was maddening.
I love that you were in a state of mind to observe what you could possibly take hold of and realize that there is nothing for me to grab. And
yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. But
so did he get a chance to drive then?
Yeah, we went driving last night for a little bit right before the game. We went over to the high school parking lot, and they have an app now because you have to. The rules have changed since we were young ones. You now have to get 65 hours of driving in, and you have to wait, I think, 6 months. So they have an app now where you can like track as soon as they start driving, you hit go, it starts recording it. It records like the date, the temperature, like what the weather's like. It does all that. So it's like, oh, great. So we're driving around in the school parking lot. He's doing a pretty good job parking forward, reverse. We go out on the road a little bit. I'm like, this is great. We got some time in. And I asked my wife who's in the back seat. I was like, how long is it? It's been like half hour, an hour, right? She was like, 15 minutes. And I was like, crap. Okay. This is going to take a while. So yeah, thankfully he got his permit. But I was not planning on spending 7 hours dealing with the DMV yesterday. That was not, I had too much other stuff to do. So
at first I was like, 65 hours doesn't seem like that much, but like, isn't that like an hour almost every 3 days?
Yeah, if you
that can be hard to get in 6 months if you're trying to do it.
Yeah, if you break it down with our oldest, we've broken it down to it's like a few hours a week. And when you factor in school and sports and activities, like you basically have
availability,
right? Like you basically have to take, a few hours every weekend and just be like, let's go for a long drive or something just to get the reps in. Yeah, it's different times, but
stick him on a 4-wheeler around the property. Don't tell anybody. when he's out there doing your chores.
Just hit record. Yeah, while he's cutting the grass. Yeah, that counts.
We are not advocating cheating the system.
What? Why not?
He's driving. It's fine.
It's fine. All right. Well, we should probably talk about this game and sort of everything else that's going on around the Hounds. Let's start with Hey Sir.
And now, Hey Sir, 1-minute reactions with Laura Ellen.
Somehow we eked out a point. I think we stole a point. And here's why. We were tactically outplayed by Orange County in the first half of the game. They realized exactly what the ref was doing by giving so many fouls against the Riverhounds, giving all these yellow cards, and then they began to play into that. The Riverhounds didn't pick up on it, and Augie Williams in particular just kept doing these lazy fouls when he knew the ref was looking for them against the Riverhounds and was going to call them against the Riverhounds. And the rest of the team knew it too, so that by the beginning of the first half, not only were we down a goal, but we had already been given so many yellow cards. We already had all these fouls called against us. And this is the problem. These are the tactical issues that the Riverhounds need to figure out how to address right away as they're happening and not wait till the end of the game. But I guess let's go Hounds.
This has been Hey Sir, 1-minute reactions with Laura Ellen.
A lot to unpack there. I'll start with the first bit. We did get a 1-1 draw, but Laura Ellen sort of asserted that we stole a point from Orange County. I think if the game had ended at halftime and it was 1-1, you might be able to say that. When I first heard that, I was like, well, we were kind of the team pressing in the second half. Steve, what do you think we stole a point from them?
I think that 1 goal each is kind of fair when there was so little opportunity for so much of the game from open play that 2 set piece goals kind of is just like, it feels right for this game overall. I mean, the Hounds definitely had some chances, a couple things wide, over the bar, some good saves by their keeper. But I think those are the types of moments that you have to be just that little bit better if you're going to be winning games. And so I think you've got to beat the keeper on some of those goals, right? And so we didn't do that. And I think part of that is just what we've seen for a lot of this season of not really taking it to that next little level up that is putting teams away. So I don't know that I agree that I feel lucky, but I don't feel like it's an unfair result.
Josh, you mentioned the fouls. The final foul tally was 18-10, 18 against the Hounds. You had messaged us at halftime and was like, "Is it like, are these fouls really fouls?" Because what was the read in the stands? I mean, were you feeling like the ref was calling these unfairly, or what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, completely unfairly. It felt like no matter what we did, if we got close to their players, the player would fall. Even if we didn't even touch the player, it looked like, and we would get a foul called on us. I know that one of the foul that was the result, or the goal was the result of that foul in particular against Augie. It looked like it was like nothing. It looked like Augie walked by the guy, ran by, and the guy fell, and was just like, "Oh, here's a foul, yellow, whatever." It's like, why? Like, it didn't look like a foul at all. Now, to Laura and Ella's point, though, like at this point, the Hounds should have realized, hey, you breathe on these guys wrong. The ref's calling it. So you got to figure out how to work around that. Because I do think this is one of those games where the ref completely interjected himself into this game and completely changed the makeup of the game. That first half especially felt super egregious. And it's like, well, are you going to let them play at all? It did feel one-sided. The second half felt more even. Obviously, we get like 1 yellow card to get 3 in the second half.
Yeah.
So it felt almost like makeup calls. Like, yeah, okay, sorry. But even then, it still felt like I just wanted the ref to like stop interjecting himself into this game so much. It's like, just let him play. Like, it's a contact sport, ref. Come on.
It was crazy. It did very much feel like the ref went in at halftime and kind of watched back game footage, or somebody told him like, "Hey, this is pretty lopsided. Like, you need to start going the other way too." And it did feel like there was some more balance in the second half. To your point about the Augie foul, a couple things there. So Drew sent us a message. It literally happens, for those of you who know where the Mandalorian sits, it literally happened like 20 feet away from him. And he was like, there was nothing. It was a non-call. But what's interesting there is because of that foul, I believe that was where Augie got his yellow, and it was kind of like the buildup of calls that got to that point. Bob then made a substitution and took Augie out at halftime and put in Charles All. And we had a big conversation last week where we were saying, is it Charles All or is it Robbie Mertz? And this was a case where he started with Mertz on the field. He brought All on in the second half. What's interesting is I don't think that Augie necessarily had a bad game. I get why Bob pulled him out. I think he was very much at risk of picking up a second yellow and getting a red. So I totally understand that. But we talked a little, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. We talked a little bit last week about having Augie and Berton playing together and how that seemed to bear some fruit last week. I felt like because Augie and Berton were on the field together again this week, along with Robbie Mertz, it was creating a bit more space for Augie to just find a little room to do some small things. It was actually looking pretty good. Steve, am I seeing that wrong? Do you agree with that?
No, I think you're right. I think this is a good position for, I guess, maybe those 4 players kind of to be in that. Pick any one of those 4 players to start on the bench, and they're going to be the first attacking threat off the bench every single time, I think. And so I felt that had Augie not had that yellow card and had more time to play, I think he might have gotten a goal with the way he was playing. We'll get to where we put players at the end of the game. If he had played the way he had played for 80 minutes, he'd be in the conversation for me of a player that we're awarding points to later. Unfortunately, that yellow card that was not a card meant you're right. Bob had to pull him out early, and that kind of limited his ability to do something in this game. But I guess maybe that's the other part of it, that if he's on the field, maybe this game does turn out a bit differently.
Yeah. There was one chance in particular in the 41st minute where Vactor kind of floated across in, and Augie just sort of had a glancing header that was going in the net. The keeper made a great save, but the thing that I noted was not just where Augie was situated, but if you look where Berton and Robbie were situated, it was the thing we've been talking about all season. They were further up the field. They had pulled other defenders away from Augie, which allowed him to get into space. He still had a defender on him, but it was just one. It wasn't two or three, and he was able to do something. So hopefully this is a bit of that turning point.
Yep. He wasn't on an island, and that's what he needs, I think, to be successful.
Yeah, agreed. Josh, give me a takeaway from this one.
Going back to the Haster with the point, stolen, blah blah blah. Like how it went. I felt like the Hounds were the better team, and I do think this is a situation where they should have gotten 3 points. They were the better team. They had so many more shots on target, so many more shots, period. And it did feel like, to Steve's point, that Augie was doing the work and was going to get a goal this game. It felt like it. And there was plenty of, great saves from Orange County's keeper, where I thought we were going to score multiple times. So this is a disappointment in the fact that we're only able to get a point out of this game, because this should have been 3 points. And there's some things that I do think, stacked unfairly against the Hounds, but overall, disappointed in this result. This felt like a 3-point game for us.
Yeah. Steve, give me another takeaway.
It's one of those games where I look at this and I'm like, I feel that the Hounds didn't play poorly. They could have played better. And despite the goal that Orange County scored, right, like that coming off of a set piece, for me, the story of this game was an extremely, maybe one of the best defensive games from our center backs that we've seen in a long, long time, that all three of them played really, really well. And the flip side of that is that we've been complaining about where is our offense coming from. Well, our offense came through our center backs throughout the night. I mean, we had 7 shots from the 3 center backs, including the goal. And so I guess that's good. And a lot of those were on set pieces, corner kicks. So also throw Robbie into the mix of getting the ball to their heads was kind of nice to see, because I think it's something that for the entire Bob Lilly era, we've wanted to see more production, especially on corner kicks, right? I mean, you look at some of the big center backs that we've had, and really the only one that sticks out to me that ever was like, I felt was a strong threat was Ordonez. And so kind of seeing that last night was really encouraging. Like, hey, our center backs are going to do some things against some teams.
Yeah, I want to touch on the goal in a second, but to your point, there were a number of times that I counted last night where either Beto or Vactor, I mentioned Vactor had the cross in for Augie's near miss. Mm-hmm. Beto is not afraid to carry the ball forward. I saw Suber carry the ball, like basically break a line and carry the ball forward a few times last night. Yeah. And that's fantastic. That's the kind of stuff that you want to see. Mm-hmm. To the goal, it was a corner kick that Robbie kind of placed. It was interesting to me to go back and watch it again, because it flicked off of Suber's head, and then Vactor just kind of happened. You can't react in that time. Like, it's so close, and it just kind of like dinked off his head and in. Mm-hmm. Josh, you were there. I mean, I'm assuming it's just pure eruption.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great goal. Great. I mean, even if it was, somewhat haphazard there, you have to put yourself in the right position to get that. Yeah. And you did. And it worked. Yeah, it was a good goal. Set piece, obviously, kind of talked about that a little bit already. Run a play would have been nice, but take what you can get. And I did like the team's reaction when they scored the goal. It wasn't like a, hey, we did it, let's celebrate. It's more like, okay, get back to work now. Like, it didn't feel like they, they realized they still were going to go out to win this game. And hopefully, or unfortunately, they weren't able to, obviously. But yeah, so that's always nice to see.
Yeah. It was an interesting one to watch for sure, because the announcers also made it clear that when the Hounds go down a goal, I think they're 0-7-5 so far this season. So if we go down one, we're not winning, but at least we didn't add another loss to that tally. It's good to see the guys power back. And, to your point, I think the second half, the field was definitely tilted towards OC's goal, which was good. You could tell after a while they just started wasting time. Their thought was West Coast, flying east, take the point, get out of here, hope nobody gets hurt. And that's kind of it. Whereas we were on the front foot, which was great.
So who should have been marking him? I don't know if you look back.
Wait, on what? On the goal?
Oh, sorry. On Orange County's goal.
Oh, I felt that, was it Barnes that got run over? Like somebody got run over as the guy made the play to play it into the back of the net.
Yeah, I couldn't tell him from the replay. I was trying to watch it from the replay, but the camera was so far away that I couldn't see numbers. So I couldn't tell who was running in. I do know that both our players, they did not have the hops that Orange County had. I was like, well, I see two Orange County like shoulders and heads way above all the Hounds. Like it was kind of sad to see how little defending there was there. So that's a little counterpoint to Steve's original point that our defenders were really great this game.
Guys, what else about this one in particular? Anything else that you think is noteworthy that we should discuss before we get on to some other topics here?
Can I ask, like, from the game being there live, I did not understand this sub, but why did we sub out Mertz in the 89th minute when we're trying to get a goal? Like, it felt like a time-wasting moment. Yeah. I was like, are we just, like, going for the draw now? Or, like, I know it's a offensive, like, Borgi, would be a forward, so it does feel like we're putting more forward power on the field, but to do it in the 89th minute, I don't get it.
I think maybe Bob is listening to the show and he's heard all of our criticism about not using all 5 subs, so he was like, oh crap, I've got to make a sub. Mongols will shut up. No, there is no good reason, right? There's no good reason to make that sub at that point, unless like you are actually concerned about Mertz having an injury or something like that. And I don't think that was the case at all. Like, it's just, you're right. It feels like a time-wasting sub. To what end?
Yeah. The only thing I could think of is, did Mertz look like he was hurt? Like, was he starting to hobble or something like that I didn't notice? I didn't see it live. But, yeah. And then the other thing is, if he lined up because I didn't notice him line up the sub, like if he lined up the sub way earlier and we just didn't get an opportunity to get him on the field, which can't be the case, because in the 85th minute they made subs. So if that was the case, he would have been able to do the sub in the 85th minute. So yeah, 89th minute, making a forward-minded sub. Good on you for making a forward-minded sub. I like to see that. It just maybe wait a little bit less. Yeah.
I mean, the alternative with Bob is always he makes a defensive-minded sub at that point, and then we give up the goal.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I'm saying. You get some credit for making an offensive-minded sub, but yeah, I did not understand that sub at all. I saw it and I was just like, why are we doing this?
Josh, let me ask you. You were there. You said it was we could see it was a packed house. Overall, how are you feeling as a result of last night? Are you like bummed that it was a draw? Do you feel good because it was a good environment? It was a good experience. You just like meh because it's like, where do you sit?
So this was one of those games where outside the play, it felt like a great night. Like the vibes were good. People were having fun. Again, dollar beer night might have something to do with that. Yeah. But just in general, people were having, a laugh at the 80s stuff, and the crowd was big. So the Steel Army was loud and just having a good time. But on the field, different story. It felt kind of like a boring game, even though there were some moments of, genuine excitement, and I thought Augie looked good, and stuff like that. It's just it was good despite the game, I feel.
Good. Steve, any kind of final thoughts on this one?
No, I don't think so. Like, it is what it is. To Josh's point, right? Like, I look at this game, I go back and I rewatch the highlights, and I don't feel great about the play on the field. But then I look at it, and it's like, the reality is that, like I said earlier, like, just a little bit better finishing, putting things on target, redirecting the ball slightly differently. And this could have been a blowout for the Hounds, right? And so there's an encouragement there that it's like, okay, I think these players are good enough to do that. Maybe they will get there. I don't know, right? Like it's, as we've talked about so much over the season, like the culture within the team may be playing into that, and I just have no idea.
Yeah, let's do our top three, and then we got a couple of other things to talk about, just sort of surrounding the Hounds, and then we'll get out of here. Josh, give me a nominee for the top three in this one.
Oh boy! I mean, do we give Vactor one just for scoring a goal? I mean,
can.
other than the goal, he did have a good game. I think Vactor should be on the list, but
agreed.
I didn't want to be biased, be like, oh, whoever scores, you get in. But
like I said, he had that cross into Augie. I think he was active all game. So yeah, I'm good with Vactor. Steve, give me another one.
I mean, my top three are the three center backs in this game. And so Vactor is definitely there. Suber got the assist, but I think I put Beto kind of as the next one for me, mainly because he did so much to progress out of the defensive third into the attacking third. His passing, I thought, was sublime, and I thought he was really good defensively as well, like the other two.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a show where we've done all three center backs. I'm not opposed to that. Josh, are you opposed to those being our three?
Merch, you could have been in this top three if you would have got that header in the last second of the game. So close. I was so sad. Like, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to give mentions to Mertz and Griffin that they were both very good on the night. I mean, Mertz's set pieces were creating havoc in Orange County's box, and Griffin played well and had his chances as well. But especially those guys being veterans on the team, being leaders on the team, I want to see a little bit more out of those guys really pushing things to that next level. So they get mentions, but I love the center backs.
So are we doing Vactor, Suber, Beto, or are we doing Vactor, Beto, Suber? Josh, where do you put him? Steve already made his vote clear. You don't get to speak again, Steve.
Vactor, Suber, Vactor, then Suber.
Vactor, then Suber?
Yeah.
Okay. So we go 3 points for Vactor.
Steve looked a little bit meh about that.
2 points for Suber. He really wanted Beto as that second spot, but that's fine. We'll go 2 points for Suber. Suber typically ends up in the 1 point spot, kind of looking at past things. So we'll bump him up to 2 for this one. I think.
I just got a signed photo with Suber, so I have to.
There you go.
It's not like he signed it and gave it to you. Like you had to go through a process to acquire it and pay money for it.
I did go up to every player who's on there after the game while they're doing signed autographs and just had a laugh with them. Like, because I showed it to them, they're like, "Oh my god, yes!"
That's awesome. Well, that is what we think. Let us know what you think. We said Vactor, Suber, Beto in that order as our top 3. To Steve's point, I do think that there are other guys that could get shout outs, but we've never done all center backs before, so let's roll with that, guys. Last night did feel kind of like a good night, I'll say, in some ways. If you do look at our last 6 games, though, we have 1 win and 4 draws and a loss over those last 6 games. So, yeah, it's feeling okay. Like I know we're going to talk about here in a minute about how the Battery are coming to town next week. The other thing to keep in mind, not to be the downer, is that all 6 of those games, except for Loudon, so 5 of those games, were against teams that are either below us or in a lower league. So, to only have 1 win in those 6 games, it's still not great. I think there's still a lot that we need to figure out here as we continue to go forward. But it is hard to argue with the standings, right? And I know that we'll get into it a little bit. Hounds currently in 5th, basically 1 point out of a home playoff spot, 2 points out of 3rd. So if they would have won last night, realistically, they could have jumped to well, they wouldn't have jumped to 3rd because North Carolina still holds a tiebreaker on us. But we could have been in that 3rd or 4th home spot as of the end of last night. Instead, we're sitting just outside in 5th place. it seems like we're probably going to be destined to be sort of bouncing up and down near that line for the rest of the season. Steve, does that feel about right?
I think it feels about right. I don't know. I've been thinking about where we are and how we fit into the table. And I guess I just have started to wonder, like, is this Louisville and Charleston beating up on everybody else? Right? Like, is it just that like nobody is very good outside of those teams and it's super close? Or is this that we're actually like finding ways to get the points that we need? Like 28 points from 19 games doesn't feel great.
That's
yeah. Right.
It's,
I mean, that puts us at just around what 42 points, 45 points in the next 11 games if we keep that pace. But I think what's more troubling is it's like we're under 1.2 points per game over these last few games, and that to me is concerning, right? Like you can't move up the table easily when you're not getting wins, and so we've got to find a way to win. So I don't know.
Yeah. If you just sort of look at the table, everybody from 3 downward, there's a lot of L's in those in those last 5 games. We're the only team that doesn't have a loss in those last 5 games. So how much of this is that, we're actually turning the page and becoming a really good team versus everybody else is just picking up L's left and right and they can't get it together.
And Josh, and like a team like Hartford, who is on a streak, like you can see how quickly things can change in this division because they were dead last a month ago. So I'm not taking it for granted.
Listen, Fraudford with 3 wins in a row are now sitting on 22 points. That means that 4 games ago they were on 13. So like all it takes is a few games and you can jump up the table. Josh, how are you feeling about things at this point?
I mean, looking at the points per game, basically. So in the last 5, we have 4 draws, 1 win. If in my brain, the way I kind of look at that is I add up the 3 draws and make it a win. So like if you were to think of, 2 wins and a draw in the last 5 games, is that something to be happy about or not? I kind of like, it just feels literally middle of the road. Just like, that's, you've won half your games and you've lost half your games. It's pretty much, with that 1 draw in the middle, it kind of feels just like there's not, I don't feel like I can be super upset or super happy about that. It's just middle of the road is basically. And that's a concerning fact when we've had so many home games.
Yeah.
That's the thing I feel is what should be tipping that scale for us. This is when we get hot. This is when we make our run. Typically in previous seasons, because we do have a lot of home games near the end because we do a lot of away games at the very beginning of the season, just Pittsburgh being cold. So this is not uncommon for us, but this is a moment where these games at home against teams that are around our level or worse, we should be winning. And instead of winning, we're just getting draws and we got 1 win.
Yeah.
And that concerns me because we're going to start playing bigger hitters here with like Charleston. It's like, are we in a position where we can afford to lose these games?
Let's talk about that. So the summer of soccer is basically ending next week where the Battery come to town. After that, I think we have 3 games on the road. So we just talked about how the Battery and Louisville are kind of running away with the league. Louisville, beat them 4-1 last night, I think. So like Louisville really staking their claim for being the top of the East. Josh, what are you expecting when the Battery come to town next week? Like, how do you think this is going to play out?
This is a game where I'm going to be happy if we get a draw. I mean, if this is, matter of the fact is Charleston and Louis are running away with it. So when they come into town, if you get a point, good on you. So I'll be happy with a point next week. I expect to see I don't think we're going to see our lineup we've seen the last 2 weeks. We don't have Augie and Jackson on the field at the same time. I personally don't think so. This is going to be a much more defensive minded lineup, I feel.
Yeah. Steve, you agree?
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that. I like Charleston is really, really good, right? Like, I mean, we talk about Orange County being pretty much kind of in the same level as us based on points and whatnot. It's a big step up to what Charleston has been able to do. And they're a really strong team with some real high quality players. And so I just, you know what? It's like if they didn't play Louisville, they're probably gaining points in every single game they've played in the past 5 and beyond that. I think it goes back further than that, right? It's like take out that Louisville game and they are playing really, really well. Just kind of makes me glad we're seeing them and not Louisville because Louisville was ridiculously good last night. Charleston wasn't bad. Louisville was just even better, right? Like, and that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, Charleston are currently sitting 14 points ahead of us. And I'm not implying that we're going to catch them, but I'm just saying that to kind of highlight the fact, Josh, you were saying, like, maybe we could turn more of these 1-pointers into 3s. And, like, they're just doing that. And so I agree with the sentiment. Well, on both counts, Josh. I think, A, if we get a draw out of this, great. B, I do think maybe this is a case where last week we were talking about, is it Mertz or all? Is it Mertz or all? You're going to see something completely different. Or you're going to see Lily try to make a statement and be like, well, this is how we play. And then it could bite us. So one way or another. Yeah.
To be clear, though, if we come out with Augie and Burton starting, I'm not going to be upset. Like, this is a game where I feel like if you want to make a case that you can win more than one playoff game and that you are going to make a run in the playoffs, you have to beat these teams.
You got to take a shot.
You got to take your shot. And you're at home. You're, on your hot streak right now, which is a little bit mild streak, but it is what we're at. You go for it and you try to get this win. I will be completely behind that. If we bomb out of this game, it sucks, but I'm looking at as we lost a point, not that we lost 3, because I don't expect us to get 3 out of this game. But if we do get 3 out of this game, that's a statement, and that's something to hang your hat on and to really motivate this team. So if we come out more attack minded or just the same as we did this game and the previous game, I'll be completely happy and willing to take this loss just to try to to get that win.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, Josh. Because the other thing you kind of hinted at this, but it's that what you're doing is you're saying what we've done against some of these teams in the past isn't what we're going to continue to do. We're going to go out and we're going to say, we're actually coming out, we're trying to win this game, we're trying not to lose this game. And I think that is the attitude I want to see from the coaching staff and from the players, not we can't, this is, right? Like, we've talked about it over the years, right? Like, must-win games versus not must-win games. And for years, most Hounds games feel like must-not-lose games. Right. I want to see games where that is put on its head against teams like Charleston. And if you lose the game, you lose the game. But if you're doing that and you're pushing forward, you're playing attacking, you've got a chance to be winning games that otherwise you would not have won.
No. Yeah, good.
I was gonna say, it's the opposite of what you had just mentioned earlier, Steve, where we're making a substitution late to add more defenders to a game because you're just trying to hold on versus no, like you're taking the game to the other team.
Maybe that's why he made an 89th minute attacking substitution. I don't know.
I guess my counterpoint to my own point would be we are in 5th place right now. We want a home playoff game. Do you take that risk by going all out against Charleston when you are really trying to at least get to 4th place, and dropping any points at this moment will make that less likely to get a home playoff game to put yourself on the best foot for the playoff run? I know it's still early in the season for that, micro adding up the points, but every point does matter when it comes to trying to get in the top 4. And the top 2 spots are out of reach. So really you're playing for 3rd and 4th place right now. And we're only, 1 point away from being in that running. Yeah. I think actually our goal differential is better than Loudoun's. And Loudoun feels like they're in a free fall.
We've got a goal differential of 2 now.
Yeah. Hey, better than Loudoun's 1. Just saying.
So to answer your question, Josh, I think you do have to go for it because you're playing one of the best teams in the league, right? One of 3 teams across both divisions that's got an average of 2 points per game or better. And the reality is that you could play a masterful defensive game and still lose the game 1-0 because they're a good team. And so you've got to go out and you've got to be looking for points, not just trying to not lose the game.
I mean, but my point is, like, if you go out defensively, and we know Lily's teams can be defensive powerhouses, we have the second least amount of goals scored against us, I think, in the league right now. If you go out with that game and you're like 80% guaranteed to get a point versus trying to win this game, which, you know, even at your best, you might be 20% likely to win the game. Do you take that better odds to get a point than you do to get 0 points?
I think you're not 80% likely to get the point against a team like Charleston is the difference.
That's fair. Yeah.
They're a good team and they're going to score goals when they can.
Is it more likely than losing, though, if you try to go out attacking minded? Like, would you trust this team to be more defensive or more attacking?
I mean, I think you have a much better chance of picking up a point if you can score a goal than you do if you don't score a goal.
That's fair.
I agree with that. Yeah, you got to get one. If you don't get one, then you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Battery come to town next weekend, as we said. They'll be at Highmark. So if you're available, get down to the game, cheer the guys on. Guys, one other thing before we get to our non-hound question of the week, which is the new thing that we're doing. I still don't have a jazzy intro for that. Maybe I'll get one at some point here. But I did want to just address it that Mike Watts and Devin Kerr were doing their roundup of the Hounds. And I know the video has been making the rounds amongst Hounds fans where they talked a little bit about the whole Lily out thing. And then later, Pittsburgh Soccer Now had Devin Kerr on and they did an interview. And Devin Kerr's comment was basically, if you don't like Bob Lilly, then you should find a new team to support. And I have so much that I take personal offense to about that. Just about like, is that what fandom is about? I think that there's a lot more to come on this. I think everybody who listens to the show kind of knows roughly where we stand on the thing, but at the same time, we're not going to spend every single episode talking about this. There's too much other stuff going on. But everyone is entitled to their own opinions. And we're not like beefing with anybody who disagrees with us. Everybody, there's strong points on either side, but just before you say something like, if you don't like this one thing about a team, then you need to find another team to support. You need to think really long and hard about what you're saying, because there's so much about community and culture and fandom that go so far beyond any single person in any organization that if you're saying that the only thing that makes that organization is one person, that is a very dangerous game to play. And we're seeing that play out in multiple aspects of things at this point. And it's just, you got to be bigger than that. So mad respect for Mike Watts and Devin Kerr, but on that comment,
he's got it wrong.
He got it wrong, dude. So
my opinion on this is that it kind of just shows how little people think of the Riverhounds. Because he's basically saying barely making the playoffs and going out in the first round is all you are worth. And you should never strive to be more than that. And that's what that comment says to me. And it's like, no, I feel like the Hounds can be a contender and actually get a championship. One of the longest running teams in the league. And we don't have a single championship to our name. We deserve to get one. I feel like this organization's grown so much and we can get one. And sorry if I'm just not okay with being a middle of the table team for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. I'll throw one more point out there and then we're done. There is the argument that Lily has won the Player Shield. Yes. But if you go back and listen to every single coaching interview and player interview that I've done this season and ask them, what would you prefer, Player Shield or championship? Every single one of them say championship, the Player Shield. Not that it doesn't mean anything, but in their minds, it is a far, far, far second place to USL championship. And so if that's the goal,
and
where we're at.
Bob thinks the only value in that is hosting the playoffs throughout. Right? Like the hardware being first is irrelevant to him other than what it does for a potential playoff run. And so, yeah, go win the Player Shield and then win me some home playoff games.
Yeah. And don't lose against Detroit at home.
Yeah.
All right, let's do our non-Hounds question of the week. Cue jazzy music here. Guys, the Premier League is back this weekend.
Woo!
My question for you, it's actually two questions. The first one I did not write down here. What are you most looking forward to in this Premier League season? What are you hoping to see? Are there any storylines that you're following? Josh, you guys have a shiny new stadium at Everton, right? You guys are playing there for the first time. What are you most looking forward to this season?
I mean, that's kind of like the key of it, of the fact that I want to see what this organization looks like now that they have leveled up with that stadium. They feel more professional, which is silly to say because they've been around forever.
Yeah.
But it feels like they've leveled up as an organization, and I like having Moyes back. He is a coach, a manager that just feels like he loves this team so much, and like the fans love him. So it's just like that vibe is just great. So I'm looking forward to not being bottom middle. I'm looking forward to being top middle. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Dude, I'd love for Everton to be top middle.
Right? That's my hope.
The history of that club and the fact that you guys can have the shiny new stadium, that would be amazing. Steve, what are you keeping an eye on? What are you looking forward to?
I have really started to enjoy Enzo Maresca, especially this summer, where he feels like he's settled in and just he's got kind of that edge of some of my favorite Chelsea managers, like a Jose Mourinho or Conte or a Sarri or even a Tuchel, right? Like where he's not afraid to just say some things and get the media in a little bit of a frenzy about what he's saying. But he also just he seems like he's got a phenomenal relationship with the players, and he really cares about them. And he really wants them to be the best that they can be, not just what he can extract out of them for results on the field. That he sees it as a partnership. At least that's what I interpret it as in the way he talks about the players. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how that relationship develops, and I can't wait to see some of those press conferences where he says something and it's great.
Yeah. I think I'm probably most interested in just kind of seeing where some of those, traditional air quotes top six teams, where they end up landing this season. We had, United and Tottenham were basically bottom of the barrel last year. Tottenham still get into the Champions League because they won the Europa League. So that allows them to flex their muscles a little bit. They have a new coach who did magical things at Brentford. Could he revitalize Tottenham and make them a top six team again? Manchester United continue to just spend and spend and spend because they just sell a ton of jerseys. That's pretty much the only reason why they can spend and spend and spend. So can they figure it out over there after, losing some really big players as well? So I have less to say about Villa because they've signed one or two players, but for the most part, their thing has been trying to retain the players they have by signing them to deals ideally on lower wages, because their big thing is when Steven Gerrard came in, he jacked up everybody else's wages, which got them in trouble with financial stuff. And then they gave him the boot, and now they're trying to fix that. But I still think that Villa will be competitive, and I think it'll be a fun season. Josh, who's winning it all this year?
Oh, geez. I don't freaking know. I don't look at the top of the table every year. I'm not up there. That's not my game.
Well,
that's not where I'm at.
Okay, I'll revise it. Will Everton finish in the top 10?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm looking for 6.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
Somewhere up there.
Yeah. I love that. All right, Steve.
I mean, I got to pick the Blues. I don't think Arsenal has the cutting edge. I think Liverpool has lost some key players that it's going to take them some time. And we've been playing really, really exciting. Delap and João Pedro are really fun to watch. And we've got some young guys that are already making waves in preseason. And I think that City is just a bit stale and people know how to play them. So if we're looking at those as probably the top 4, I think we've got a really great chance.
That's the other storyline I think that'll be interesting, is what happens with City this year, because clearly it didn't go as according to plan last year. Pep seems to go in these 3 or 4 year cycles where then he kind of revamps everything. Are they going to come out and try something new this year? So At this point, I think I'm still kind of tipping it to Liverpool because after not making any changes last year, if they're able to pull off the championship so quickly in the season, now they start to get in some guys that they really want, maybe. But it should be a fun.
Brother pay you to say that?
No, he did not pay me to say that.
I'm team anyone but Liverpool.
I didn't say that's what I want. That's just what I'm saying. What I think could happen. My hopes and dreams for the season really aren't even related to the season. I hope that Villa can win the Europa League to get into the Champions League, regardless of what they do during the season. I think they're still going to have a good season, be top 7 or 8. But if they can win some hardware and get the Europa Cup and then they're back in the Champions League, that solves a lot of their financial issues too.
I don't think Villa is going to be in this situation ever. But has there ever been a team that's kind of been in that situation and got relegated from the Premier League, but went up to the Champions League because they put all their resources into it?
That has come up, yes, where it's like, would you take being relegated, but you still get into the Champions League? And it's like, no,
you don't, because you don't have the money the next year.
Well, the other thing that's interesting is that Birmingham City, who there's basically 2 teams in Birmingham. There's Aston Villa and there's Birmingham City. Birmingham City was bought by a group that Tom Brady is an investor in. So now they've turned it into a TV show and they're trying to climb the table just like Wrexham. There's a chance that the Blues could make their way up to the Champions League if they do well in the not Champions League, up to the Premier League if they do well in the championship this year. And that rivalry is like bloody. Like it is not. So if Villa were to go down and the Blues go up, there'd be, the streets would be burning in Birmingham. So I don't want to see that happen.
Can I add another non-Hounds related thing?
Yeah.
So this has more to do kind of with the just like people using clubs as investments and really damaging those clubs. But really sad because it's one of those teams that I think just has such a rich history. They are black and yellow, but Arnhem's Vitesse lost their professional license after 133 years because of mismanagement by their previous ownership group.
That's crazy.
And so it's the second oldest club in the Netherlands. Just wild what all this money has done to the sport that we love, and we can cheer for some of these teams that have a crap ton of money, but also at the same time, it's like it's not what it used to be. And there's a part of me that makes sad, and to see a club like that has that history, it's just it's a bummer.
There's a number of Premier League podcasts that I listen to, and some of the sentiment floating around the UK is that it's no longer about soccer, it's about accounting. Mm-hmm. Where so much of what's going into it is just how much money can you spend, how much are you going to be penalized. It's not really even about the talent or keeping the players that you have. You get penalized for keeping the good players that you have because you have to pay them more, and now you're in financial trouble. And even if you can spend. So it just,
turns out having some player caps and spending caps could be smart when it comes to actually having a league that is has parity. So
agreed.
Yep.
All right, guys, anything else for this one before we get out of here?
Nope.
Awesome.
Gonna go eat some tomatoes.
Sweet. Thank you, gentlemen. It is always fun getting together the chat. I sincerely look forward to this every single week. Hopefully everyone listening and or watching has enjoyed this as well. Please let us know what you think about any of the questions that we discussed or any of the topics that we covered. You can reach us at mongols3@gmail.com. You can also find us over on YouTube. You can leave a comment on this video if you are watching it or listening to it there. We really appreciate it. Like we said, the Battery come to town this weekend. Hopefully the guys can dig deep and get a point or 3. Otherwise, thanks, everybody. We will be back with more Hounds content for you very, very soon.
Later.
See ya.